Coffee is for leaders.
So it's no longer just bits and bytes behind the computer with some oscillating waves. Now we see a face that we can connect with. And when you connect to that, there's a bit of an emotional connection because there's a bit more trust that you build in that aspect. And I think the biggest issue was people didn't trust the computers. And it's created that sense of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around AI. But the way we use it right now is to build that trust.
Welcome to the CEO.com show. My name is Clint Betts. Today's guest is Denver Naidoo, CEO of Zeligate. Holding 24 years of experience in the software industry, Denver gained not only technical expertise, but also an understanding of how to build a team and run a business. When he and his partners decided to start an IT professional services business, they realized the need to create various business components, financial entities, sales, marketing, HR, legal, and compliance, all before even building a product or offering a service. When given early access to an LLM, paired with his experience in building software and running businesses, led to the idea of creating Zeligate. So the Australian-based startup comes from the simple thinking of what if an AI workforce handled all of the tedious, mundane tasks in the business? How much more efficient would we be? That is what Denver's all about and what Zeligate does. Denver, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Clint.
Yeah. So tell us about Zeligate, how you became the CEO. What did I miss in all of that?
Yeah, I think you've summarized it quite nicely. And that 24-year going on to 25-year journey now has been quite an interesting journey. So what seems like Zeligate that's been established over the past year and a half was actually 25 years in the making. And I think the interesting part is, for me, it started in 1988 working with the Commodore 64. And that's where it piqued my interest into IT. And then being a little kid at that point, watching James Bond movies was just like so exciting. So it was more a passion that just continued to grow. And the technologies that we saw on James Bond were not available publicly, or you couldn't really get your hands on it. And I grew up in the era from Commodore 64 to where the PCs became a little bit more easily accessible. And we started to use things like DOS with floppy drives. And it was a really, really exciting journey. But I'll tell you more about how that 24 years ended up with Zeligate. But I think the summary of that is, the passion for technology is just growing because now we have access to data that we never had before. We have access to satellite imagery, and now with AI, it's a dream come true, really.
Yeah, give me a sense for this LLM that you had early access to and how all of that came about.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So, working in tech all my adult life, I've always been following the latest trends. So we were at that forefront where you've heard of things like, .NET's going to be a new framework that's going to be out. And we followed it before .NET was available, coding in Delphi and C, etc. So in 2016, I was following a Microsoft newsletter, and there was this company that had Elon Musk involved in it, and it was called OpenAI. And OpenAI was talking about AI, and LLMs were not really known to the public at that point, but it was more like research papers that we were looking at. So from 2016 was the first time I started following that journey. And in 2022, I got early access to the LLMs that most people know as ChatGPT. And we were able to experiment with the LLM before the public had any access to it. So that allowed us to put that little piece of the puzzle that was missing, that little cherry on the top that I'd like to call it, to bring all these technologies together to actually do something a lot more meaningful with.
Yeah, that's incredible. And what an opportunity that was, because obviously that's an enormous technology that started a revolution here and still one of the leading LLMs, if not the leading. So that's pretty cool to be able to have that experience. Give me a sense for what it's like to build in Australia.
Australia's a very interesting place. So I live in the Gold Coast, Australia, which is pretty laid back. It's beaches, canals, mountains. It's a lovely place to retire, really. So with that, it's very interesting to find that there's a startup community that's actually quite large. You'd find that in Australia, you've got companies like Atlassian, Canva, really big names that have come out of it. And recently, we've been talking to the guys from Leonardo, just before they sold out. So what we find, Australia is really, really good in the sense that startups can have a good base, try out your software in Australia. Australians are quite keen to try out new things as well. And with the small population, you have a good opportunity to showcase that you can make business work before taking it across the ocean.
Is the Gold Coast the place to be? Gold Coast. Sorry, I don't know what I said there, but is that the place to be, or is Sydney the place to be? Where's the place to be?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit biased on this one. So the Gold Coast pretty much has it all, and there's a few Hollywood movies that have been shot in the Gold Coast as well. We have studios in the Gold Coast. So what you would see, Orlando probably has all the theme parks, and Gold Coast has all of the theme parks as well. So in terms of coming in with a family, having a nice balance of life, the Gold Coast is really, really livable in that perspective. So whether it's the surf, the sun, and interesting enough, there's also ice hockey in Brisbane, which is not too far away.
Ah, that's way cool. What is the government like? Is it supportive of these types of things? Is it, would you find it similar to like maybe Europe or United States?
The government's really supportive of startup businesses. There's a lot of incentives to take your business forward. And that's one of the other things I like about Australia. And Australia allows you to sort of spread your wings and even, export your business to other countries. It's really supportive in that perspective. However, I think with the US, there's a lot of bigger bets that's being placed in the US. We've seen a lot of investment go into just ideas, not even a company. So it seems like there's a lot of appetite for risk, and there's a lot of appetite to throw in large sums of money. What I would say about Australian investors, though, they do seem to be a little bit more conservative in the sense that there's a lot more due diligence. And I think as a result, that's why a lot more of the investments are successful. So they kind of look for that return of investment a little bit more seriously rather than spreading the bets, so to speak.
So give me a sense of how you're thinking about AI, how you're using AI. I know you guys recently launched an AI kind of product that you should talk about. Give us your overall overview of AI and where we're headed here as someone who, kind of got early access to a lot of the major tools now.
So having access to AI right now, it's pretty much become part of my everyday life and the team's everyday life. And it's not just the parts that we're building, but we actually use AI to get our jobs done on a daily basis. So, Clint, you're probably not going to like this one, but what's interesting is you're sitting across from me and you're talking to me. And one of our products is an AI, is a pre-screening AI assistant that goes in and does a pre-screening interview for you. So just as you're speaking to me and I can see you, I can see the AI, and there's a bit of a connection. I get to choose the one that I resonate with, and I can see the AI nodding back. So it's no longer just bits and bytes behind the computer with some oscillating waves. Now we see a face that we can connect with. And when you connect to that, there's a bit of an emotional connection, because there's a bit more trust that you build in that aspect. And I think the biggest issue was people didn't trust the computers. We've seen things like, the Terminator, and we've seen movies like Avengers where computers or AI is actually just, taken over and got it all wrong. And it's created that sense of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around AI. But the way we use it right now is to build that trust. And I have a Zelly, which I see and talk to. And I would go to my Zelly and say to my Zelly, okay, Zelly, what does my calendar look like this morning? And Zelly would say something along the lines like, you've actually got a podcast this morning and you're speaking to Clint. And I was like, oh, great. Can you tell me a little bit more about Clint? Give me some background. And Zelly would go get some background information. And it goes further than that. So I could actually say, Zelly, I want you to set up a meeting with Sam and ask Sam to make sure that all my equipment is set up for the meeting. And Zelly would go ahead, send that email. And now we've gone as far as Zelly making a phone call. So Zelly would pick up that phone and perform a task for you. And where this actually comes full circle is we're leading with the hiring assistant. When you're doing a reference check, Zelly would actually go through your resume, find that reference check number. And when you're ready, you say to Zelly, can you do a reference check on Simon? And Zelly would pick up the phone, call Simon, and speak to Simon and do the reference check. And to bridge that gap where there's a lot of uncertainty or still that fear from people about, what is AI going to do? Is AI going to represent me the way I represent myself? And so there's a little bit of a bridge. I could say to Zeli, can you call Clint on his mobile? And can you call me on my mobile? I want to talk to Clint. And what Zeli does is would call you on your mobile, call me, and sit in between that call and get the action items out of that. Get the objective of what we're really trying to do. And if that objective falls into something that Zeli can actually do, Zeli can go ahead and do that. So the way we use it is in a sense of removing all that tedious, mundane work where we get the AI to go ahead and actually do things. And the little caveat here is what we've seen for the past year or two is very creative ways where other companies have used AI to help you do what you're doing. And we've taken it a step further where the AI actually does it for you. So Zeli would meet you where you are. People are constantly on emails. So Zeli's in your email. Zeli's able to respond on your behalf or help you respond. Zeli's able to respond to SMSs, give you a link that you need very quickly. And also, we have this Zeli video meeting where Zeli sits in on that meeting, just like you and I are talking. And I could say something like, we're expecting Simon to join us on this call. Can you call Simon on his mobile and join him into the meeting? And Zeli would go ahead, make that phone call to Simon. And then Simon would say something like, oh, sorry, guys, I've been stuck in traffic and I couldn't get to a computer, but thanks for calling. I'm here now. Can we continue the meeting? And then it gets a lot more interesting. Someone will share a screen and we could say to Zeli, wait, hold on. Can you analyze that graph and tell me what this is about? And Zeli would give you some indication of what's seen on that screen. And then you can go a step further and ask Zeli questions about the sentiment, what someone really meant, what kind of follow-up questions should I ask? Because quite often you're sitting in meetings and if it goes on for an hour, there's a lot that's said and you want to bring it back. You could say something to Zeli like, what's the real essence of this meeting? And are there any questions that I need to ask? And Zeli's able to assist you in real time. So these are things that we're doing with AI today. And we look at, large companies that have been established for a long time in that space. Let's take Zoom, for example, or Google Meets. It's something everyone uses every day. And what I've just explained about what Zeli could do, these are things that we're using AI to bring into an AI-first product. So I think it was easier for us to build these because we started with the AI perspective and built in a solution that used AI to solve problems, and then everything else was bolted on. So we still use big data, we still go to the cloud, we still use microservices and all of those technologies that's still used on SaaS and every other organization like Netflix, Uber, etc. But all of that now becomes the underlying piece. And the core of what we've got is called the Zeli Artificial Reality Engine. Every time we see there's a new agent or a new way of doing things, there might be something like computer use that comes out from Claude, etc. Those are really cool, fancy names, and the tech guys have to get involved to build that. But with our Zeli Artificial Reality Engine, we've actually climbed all the way to the top of the stack. What that means is our Zeli that you can see and talk to is the AI that interfaces with all of the technologies below it. As a user, it's out the box. You don't need to actually understand or know how the stack works below, but you want to get something done. I want to say to Zeli, hey, Zeli, can you make a phone call for me? And you're not interested that Zeli's going to have to go down, make sure your logging and security is in place, make sure that you got your big data systems in place all the way down to your cloud where it's got disaster recovery, failover zones, and you're using the right infrastructure, the right hardware, whether it's Inferentia or latest NVIDIA chips. And then everyone's talking about LLMs. You don't have to be concerned with which LLM because all of that's done for you and you're having a conversation. It's almost like having a coworker where you have a conversation. You say to someone, hey, Sam, can you please tell me what I need to do today because I've got a whole lot of emails. Which one's the most important one? Sam would be able to go ahead and perform that task for you. So we're at that point where you could do something as simple as that. Or you could take it a step further and say, hey, Zeli, I need to hire a marketing manager. Can you go ahead and show me all the resumes? And off that resumes, you've got Zeli scoring all those resumes and says, oh, great. we have Jane right at the top of the list with 95. And below Jane, we've got someone with a score of 94. And I could go ahead and say, oh, that's fantastic. Let's delve a little bit further. Why does Jane have 95? And Zeli is able to give you that kind of information. Now, I'm sitting here having a conversation, and it is voice. You are talking. I can do it hands-free. Like, look, mom, no hands. And Zeli's giving me some information. And now, as a human, as a hiring manager, I've hired people, and I've gone through probably 1,000 resumes now. And you kind of understand patterns. You have your own sort of way of doing things, but you're able to pick out things based on your experience. And every hiring manager, HR, recruiter has that same kind of higher level thinking or experience that allows them to pick out a good one. And what we do is we can use that high level thinking, but use Zeli more as a doer to say, okay, great. If you're saying that Sam or Jane is the best candidate, can you pull out Jane's pre-screening interview? And now you get a pre-screening interview that Zeli attended, asked questions, given you a sentiment, a summary, weaknesses, etc. The typical things that you'd expect, but it's all done for you. And now you could say something along the lines like, hold on, Zeli, Jane actually has 20 years of experience, but on the pre-screening interview, your notes say that she seems somewhat inexperienced. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And Zeli would say, yeah, the reason for that is although Jane's got 20 years of experience, Jane's got 20 years of experience doing the same thing. So it's pretty much 1 year that's been done over and over for 20 years. And then you kind of realize, oh, wait, yeah, I understand that concept, because some people don't grow their skills. They're comfortable in a position. And therefore, someone who's had 5 jobs probably has 5 different ways to do something, and they've learned, they've expanded their knowledge. It allows me to make a better decision. But then the AI is just giving me information, and it's done all of this quickly for me. I'm still making the decision as a human. I'm still in control. AI is not going to get the best of me. I'm going to make sure that I'm in charge. And then I might want to go a step further and say, okay, I trust you, Zeli, but I want to talk to a real person. Who's Jane's reference? And you'd get something like Zeli would say, okay, look, Jane has Anthony as a reference. And I'd say, Zeli, go ahead, call Anthony. I want to have a chat with him right now. Zeli would call Anthony, call me, and I'd speak to Anthony and ask Anthony questions that, I want to know, because I might ask something along the lines like, Jane's been with you for 20 years, but Jane hasn't been given any promotions. Why is that? And Anthony would say, because, Jane has been such a loyal employee. Jane wanted nothing more than to do what she's doing, and she loved what she's doing. And therefore, I allowed her to do that for 20 years, but I paid her handsomely. And then you kind of realize, okay, maybe Jane wants her to be comfortable, and I delve a little bit more and ask things like, was Jane interested in these latest marketing trends? We see things like Russell Brunson and all these other guys that have come onto the scenes recently. Has Jane been interested in that? And you might say something along like, oh, no, Jane studied 20 years ago. She's, she loves the theory she's done then. She doesn't believe in all of this pop-up marketing and this new psychology. So she's very comfortable doing things that way. And then it gives me a better understanding of what we're doing. And it allows me to make a much better decision. And I'd go on to the second candidate or the third one. But where the real value is, I'm looking at the top 5 candidates and trying to do due diligence around that. And so what we'd do in that case is I'd probably get about 250 resumes come through for the same position. And that's pretty standard. It's between 100 and 250 consistently. And Zeli's actually gone ahead and done the same for all of the candidates. And I could go and cherry pick the ones that I actually want to look at. And I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial. With 250 resumes, there's not too many people that can tell you that they are physically doing due diligence by reading every single resume, giving it the same enthusiasm and energy as you would that you started with the first one. You start to skim, you start to look at trends. And from the research and the user testing we've done, we know that hiring managers do this. We know that recruiters do this. There's always that little caveat that I build a personal relationship with the person that I'm hiring. which is true. But what about the person you're not hiring? There's hidden gems that you never get to speak to. Now we have Zelly that's doing the pre-screening interview. I could go in and look at any of those interviews. And what we find is not everyone can write a good resume. Jane, who hasn't written one in 20 years, her resume looks very different from someone who's changed jobs 6 months ago. So what Zelly allows us to do in that case is go in, look at those pre-screening interviews. I could see the questions that Zelly asked and see the responses. And we understand that people are different. Sam, our co-founder, she used to be an organizational psychologist by profession. So she understands the psychology of hiring really well. And when we look at the actual interviews and we look at the resumes, we see something a little bit different. Sometimes people will bring an energy to that interview where you realize, wait a minute, this person knows what they're talking about. And when you look at the resume, you see they didn't really articulate that well. They may have given a broad overview, but when you ask the questions and delve in the interview, you realize that, wow, this is really someone I would love to have on my team. Can I give you a real live scenario? So we like this concept of drink your own champagne. So we use the product for our own hiring and for our own needs, and it's worked really well. So one of the star developers on the team, we looked at his resume and it kind of checked out. And then we figured, look, we could do with a junior person on the team, and let's call him in for an interview. We called him in for an interview, had a chat, and English was his second language. And when someone's English is second language, there's certain words they wouldn't say clearly, like, I'd say something like, oh, let me present this to you, or let me present this to you. And you kind of get what they're saying, but humans naturally have a reaction to that. And when I spoke to this person, the interview went well in the sense that he understood the technical side of things really well. And I could see that there's a little bit of a language barrier being second language English speaker. But let's delve on to the technical questions. The moment I started asking technical questions, he was able to answer them like absolutely fluently because he understands the technology, he's worked with it. And then I said to him, okay, fantastic. Let's move forward. Asked him what his expectations are. And he says, yeah, I'm ready to work. I'm available at any time. I can even start today if you want me to, and I'll work for free. And I said, wait, what do you mean you'll work for free? You've got a lot of experience and skill here. And why would you work for free? And he says to me, look, I've been going in for interviews and I am not able to land a job. And therefore I will prove myself when I come into the organization because no one's given me a chance. And what we found was, when he went in for interviews, and you find a hiring manager is sitting there across someone and the person's explaining something, they're answering a question. The hiring manager may raise an eyebrow or may have this unconscious leakage that now throws the candidate off track. Now the candidate is not putting the best foot forward. And by the time you're done and the candidate didn't really present well in the interview and they kind of felt judged. So it made them go into the shell a little bit and you kind of lose the best candidates. And we ended up hiring this person. And after I hired him, we had a little project that we started working on. And on day one, he hit the ground running. We did pay him, by the way. I have to mention that. Pay him well. We pay him for what he's worth. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And he did really well. And we went on a little longer than expected for the day. And then he said to me, no problem. I can stay a little later to finish this, but I just got to be home at 7. It's Uber Eats, and he's a second language English speaker. So I said, okay, no problem. Then the second time that happened was a few days ago where he needed to stay a little longer, and he said the same thing. He's got to be home at 7 for Uber Eats. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, this guy who said he'd work for free and, he'd really need a job right now. Then I said to him, don't you find Uber Eats a little bit expensive eating it all the time? He says, oh, no, I don't eat Uber Eats. I actually drive Uber Eats because I couldn't get a job before this. So I've been doing Uber Eats as a driver. And that's just a good example of where the technology was able to make a candidate shine, make sure that the best candidates came forward. And as a result, as an organization, I can't tell you how valuable he is as a person to our organization.
That's incredible. That's actually such an interesting and perfect use case for AI that will kind of weed out a lot of hiring problems that we've seen in the past, and kind of find those gems. That's beautiful, man. That's so cool. How big is the team right now?
Right now, we have a team of 12 people. And we're going through the next stage where we are currently doing a raise. So we've been seed funded. Now we're going for a pre-series A where we need to actually expand the team. The whole idea was to show that we can create this AI assistant in hiring. And the second one we've done is the personal assistant. And the reason for expanding the team now is we want to go into the next assistant, which is the customer service assistant, and then the marketing and sales. So the whole idea is just as how you have an organizational structure that you work with, you've got someone in sales, in marketing in your team. Now you can have a Zeli to leverage. And what that would mean is every person or every employee in an organization would have an entire team that they could direct and get things done for them. And just like Sam Altman said, billion-dollar companies will start to emerge by just one person. And the way to do this is to have a team of AI assistants in every aspect, legal, sales, marketing, taking care of all your business needs.
Well, if you weren't using Zeli yourself, I'm sure you'd need a lot more people than just 12, right? Isn't it fascinating how much you can get done now with so few people? I mean, 12 is still, if you would have said 12 like in 2018, I'd been like, you need to hire. Now it's like, no, you're good.
Yeah. Well, look, 12 is still a small number. And I think part of that is the whole drinking our own champagne and what we've done with the Zeli artificial reality engine. It kind of just starts to exponentially add value. So we use the AI to help us write code. We use the AI to help us test. We use the AI to help us do our product requirements. So all of these different areas, we use Zeli to do all these things. And I chatted to my product owner yesterday. And he's been doing fantastic work. Everything's just great. And I said to him, one of the things I notice about you is you always deliver on what you commit to, but the speed at which you do it, I am amazed. I do not know how you can get all of this done because I've worked in big teams before. I've been in an organization that had 3,000 people in the same building. And I know how long certain things can take, and especially with the best of people as well. So it's not a people problem. It's just the task at hand takes so long. And he said to me, you know what, thanks for those kind words, but I'm actually using Zeli to do all of these things. Before I even submit something, I get Zeli to look at it. I get Zeli to get me started. And that's why I'm able to do it so quickly.
It's pretty beautiful. It's very, 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 very cool. So how's the traction been so far? You've raised money. Did you raise from local VCs, out of country VCs? And is the venture capital community pretty strong there in Australia? I'm sure the Atlassian guys are investing in companies there and things like that.
Yeah. So the Australian VC market is quite big. There's quite a big group, and we've raised 5.5 million from Australia, and it's from high net worth individuals who's had experience in some good successful exits in Australia as well. But in terms of VCs, there's a lot of VCs that are willing to come to the party in Australia. So whether you're in the Gold Coast or Sydney, there's a few of them that you could actually get in contact with. And they're really willing to take it forward. And a lot of them do have experience with taking Australia to the rest of the world as well.
Yeah, Australia is certainly punching well above its weight class. It's pretty remarkable what the country is doing and the number of tech startups that are coming out of there, and just the whole ecosystem. It's pretty profound. What does a typical day look like for you as CEO of this company?
CEO of a startup is exactly what you'd expect in terms of the books that you might read from 0 to 1, Peter Thiel's early experience, etc. So I'm going to tell you what it's not. It's not the glamorous CEO that you see in these enterprises. You pretty much have to do anything and everything that you need to do. And the reason for that is it's all speed. It's speed to market. You want to do things very quickly. So I like to say that I serve as CEO. It's a title to keep everything together. It's a way to communicate to shareholders and investors, and at the same time bring the team together and rally the team towards the same vision. And for me, the typical day starts with pretty much starts the night before, actually, planning the day ahead and making sure everything's ready for the next day. But taking care of the people in the team, for me, that's the biggest thing, because that's the people who take care of the customers. That's the people who make things happen. So my priority is to make sure that everyone has what they need to be able to move forward, to remove any obstacles, remove any blockers. And that requires sometimes a lot of admin, a lot of talking to other people, being that bridge, a lot of negotiations. And the team will need something to move forward, whether it's other software or other vendors that we need to chat to, or customers. I do get involved in talking with customers as well, get involved in a little bit of the technical design, and I'd say all areas of the business. And I think the biggest thing, I do want to stress is people, because what I found is you can get skills, but you need the right people on the team. And the moment you have the right people, people rally towards the same vision. And I'm not at that point where I can delegate everything. I try to delegate as much as I can. I try to do the old quadrant of do, decide, delegate, defer. I think that's how I organize everything that I do. But for the most part, I think this role in this organization, there's still a fair bit of doing.
That makes sense. Hey, Denver, so great to connect with you. We end every interview with the same question, and that is at CEO.com. We believe the chances one gives is just as important as the chances one takes. When you hear that, who gave you a chance to get you to where you are today?
Oh, that's I love that question. So there's a few people. I can't put it down to just one person, because there were lots of different chances that got me to where I am. But I do want to mention there was one person, Rob Olver, and interesting enough, he was involved with Microsoft's coming to Australia in 1987, so he's quite seasoned. And which means he really understands the business space really well. He's actually been a bit of a mentor to me, and he's the person that believed not in just the idea, but believed in me that I can take this forward as well. So there's lots of people that have given me a chance. There's probably more names that I could name, but Rob Olver is one person that I'd like to actually mention.
That's incredible. Denver, thank you so much. What an honor to have you on. Please come back again as you continue to build this thing. It seems like you've got a monster on your hands. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Denver.